At my own lavish, once-in-a-lifetime wedding, my sister drugged herself with an aphrodisiac and begged me to lend her my new husband, a decorated military major general. I called her childhood friend to help, but when my sister Julia woke up and realized it wasn't Captain Hayes beside her, she threw herself from a balcony in a fit of shame and fury. James Hayes didn't blame me. He treated me the same as he always had. Racked with guilt, I sang his praises to my father, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. But the day he was promoted to general, the very first thing he did was have his men force-feed me the same drug and dump me in an enemy encampment. If it weren't for you, Julia would never have suffered like that, he hissed, his face a mask of hatred. You're going to pay for it 1,000 times over. I was tortured to death, my body and the baby inside me cremated as a sacrifice on my sister's altar. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on my wedding day, my sister weeping at my feet, begging me to give her James. Please, Ava, I'm begging you. If word of this gets out, how could the Thorne family ever show its face in public again? And it happened at your wedding of all places. We're family, just lend me your husband this one time. My sister's face was flushed a deeper red than a boiled lobster. She clung to my leg, her pleas a desperate, shameless whimper. I stared down at her, my disgust a cold, hard knot in my stomach as I wrenched my leg free. In my last life, her tears had thrown me into a panic. I'd been desperate to protect her reputation, to spare her the embarrassment of facing James again. So I had called her childhood friend, the man she'd secretly loved for years, to help. But when Julia woke up the next morning, she flew into a rage, blaming me for everything before making a grand public spectacle of leaping from a balcony. James had said nothing. I thought he was unaffected. But on the day of his promotion to general, a promotion I had helped him secure, he gave the order. His men forced an aphrodisiac down my throat and threw me to our enemies. As I was defiled, my flesh carved from my bones, I saw him watching, his face twisted with a sick, triumphant hatred. After what you did to Julia, he spat, no amount of suffering is enough for you. The sound of hurried footsteps pulled me back to the present. James, still in his groom's tuxedo, appeared in the doorway. His eyes, when they fell on Julia, were filled with an unmistakable ache. The moment Julia saw him, she scrambled across the floor, sobbing, and clutched his leg. Help me, she whimpered, her face burning with a mixture of shame and desperate need. A dark blush crept up James's neck. He shot a glance at me, his jaw tight. Ava and I just finished our wedding ceremony. This isn't right. He said the words, but his tone was a lie. He was practically vibrating with the desire to pounce on her. He tugged at the collar of his uniform as if it were a noose, and the look he gave me was filled with resentment and disgust. A cold, humorless laugh escaped my lips. They were so obvious. How had I been so blind? This time, I would give them exactly what they wanted. It doesn't matter, I said, my voice flat. We're both the commander's daughters. Marrying one is the same as marrying the other. You can always have another wedding. James's head snapped up, his eyes wide with shock. He clearly hadn't expected the woman who had been so ecstatic to marry him just hours before to say something like this. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. He didn't have time to think. Hearing my permission, Julia grew bolder, wrapping herself around his neck like an octopus and pulling him down for a kiss. James shot me one last fleeting glance before his face turned beet red. He swept Julia into his arms and carried her into the adjoining room, shutting the door behind them. I stared at the closed door, my expression blank. My reflection in the nearby mirror showed a woman in a magnificent white gown. A laugh bubbled up from my chest. Hilarious. Utterly, ridiculously hilarious. I turned to my assistant, who was frozen in place, speechless with shock. Help me out of this dress, I said. I pulled out my phone and sent a single public message announcing that the wedding was off. Then, after months of non-stop, frantic wedding preparations, I let the exhaustion claim me.